Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Freedom Stage, your host of the Dr. Oz Show, Dr. Mehmet Oz, and special guest, Michelin star chef, Geoffrey Zakarian.
Thank you all for being here. All right, so we're going to sit and talk, but I want to make it real clear. Getting Jeff Zakarian to come on today was a massive coup. The White House is thrilled. I'm over the moon. You get the whole mall. But the story today is not just about how great food's good for you. We're going to do all that. We're going to talk about Maha Monday tips, practical takeaways that you can use to make high-quality food that's affordable. But what Jeff Zakarian did, which was really earth-changing for me as a doctor, practicing in a hospital, where I was told as an intern, do whatever you need to do to take care of the patients, but don't eat their food. And the reason they said was if you eat the patient's food, you'll get sick. I was literally told that. I didn't eat their food, didn't get sick, thankfully, but I learned the patients don't benefit much from it either. So Jeff's gonna walk you through what he did at Tampa General that's changed the stage that led to the Secretary's desire to have a pledge for all the other hospitals in America to come on board to follow the food pyramid, which we'll talk about. I'll give him the 20 seconds before you sit about what was so daunting about changing hospital food.
Thank you, Dr. Oz. It really was, when you walk in there, the culture had to be changed. So everyone was accepting hospital food is awful, right? And you just hear the word hospital food and you sort of cringe. I cringe. So what I did was I just simply took all the sugar out of the food. I took all maltodextrin, anything in a box, no seed oils. So we cook with extra virgin olive oil, protein, good fat, coconut oil, beef tallow, and no sugar whatsoever. Real food, real honey, real maple syrup. If you want milk, you can have milk. We make our own protein shakes. We make everything you want, and you can get a cheeseburger and a milkshake at Tampa General Hospital, and it is delicious. And the patients love it, and it's nutritious as well. So we're trying to go back to original food, what food used to be before we messed it up in the 70s, basically.
I want you to just share something you told me in confidence. Please give him applause. He shared in confidence that there was a concern about whether patients want to go home after they eat this much high-quality food.
Yeah, we want to get them out, because the average stay in the hospital, thankfully, is 3 days, a little less. So you have 3 days to capture their spirit. And by the way, when you're laying in a bed in a gurney, half naked in those ugly gowns, all you want is like what you had at home that's delicious. Mashed potato, a milkshake, a burger, mac and cheese. And so we provide that. We provide a real mac and cheese, really ground regenerative beef. And we have that gentleman who does all the regenerative beef here.
Yep.
So really good food that tastes like it used to taste, and that's what we do at Tampa General.
All right, so we're going to share the stage with the World Cup today. You can hear them cheering for us. It's a split screen. They've got the game on next to Jeff and myself, so we're going to sit down and talk for a little while, and then you can take some questions later on if you want. So let's get into the actual meat and potatoes, pardon the pun, of what it took to be able to actually get the job done. And I ask that because most of us training in hospitals don't even think about the food that our patients have. And we also think if we change the food, it's gonna be really expensive. Then I learned the food itself is really expensive in the hospital, something I did not expect. So take us through the nitty gritty of it.
So it's a good question because when I got there, I'd never done this before. And I'm a chef and I've run restaurants all over the country. And so I know what it is. I know how to make yummy, delicious food. So in the hospital, there's a lot of rules. And all the rules come from you guys. You make these ridiculous rules. I'll give you an example. I said, well, we're going to have everything fresh. We're going to have fresh orange juice, fresh grapefruit juice, fresh apple juice. So I bought all these machines to grind apples and make juice. I bought that fancy orange machine where you put the oranges in, you've seen it, and it comes down and you get the fresh orange. And when you have orange juice like that, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. The hospital said, we can't do that because you have to pasteurize. It means you have to heat it all up and boil it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. No. So all these rules, the biggest thing I had were the rules that not you, but previous administrations that put on these rules are all like backwards. So since you've changed the pyramid, that helps. But all these rules were like normal things. I can't make an egg sunny side up. I couldn't scramble an egg because it has to be well done. And I'm like, why is that? So my whole first month was like, why? I couldn't serve a pork chop because of the bone in a pork chop. Because, I mean, why? The bone is delicious. And they said, well, someone's going to choke on it. I'm like, who the hell is going to put a bone in their throat from a pork chop? So common sense stuff. We're all common sense people. I'm from Worcester, Mass. I have common sense. So that was my biggest problem. Everybody wanted changes, but the actual rules that everyone had put in place were very difficult to sort of work around, but we did.
Let me give a little background on my guest today, because it's such an honor to have him. Obviously an Iron Chef. You've seen his Iron Chef work, which is a competitive and emotionally challenging venue. Close friends with my daughter Daphne, who brags about his prowess endlessly. Daphne's a chef, so I trust her judgment on this more than mine. Best-selling author, restaurateur, obviously very popular on television for good reasons. The Kitchen, another show that he really helped put on the map, and with all that done, I think his legacy to this nation may actually be defined because he went into a dangerous area. And when Jeff speaks about the rules we make in hospitals, the worst rule we have is 1,800 calories, ADA diet, 2 grams sodium. And Daphne has taught me, I think you probably agree, that if you take the salt out of food, and it's not the added salt that's the problem, it's the already present salt in the processed meals that are the issue. If you take all the butter out, you take all the things that actually make it palatable, they don't eat it. And if patients don't eat the food, then we don't get the nutrients into them that we actually desire. So how did you push back on all those rules when they came up? And how do you deal with the financial challenges of ordering high quality meals?
So 2 questions, pushback. So first of all, there's about 12 people we work with as a committee, and all of them wanted to change. But they were all stuck in the mud by these rules. And they figured it's never gonna change, it's the way it's gonna be. And I said, we're just gonna say no. So we said no, we're gonna change. So we made 100 menu items, and we shrunk it down to like 50, and then we shrunk it down to 25. And then we went through all these iterations, and we actually found 25 items that met the nutritional rules, met the hospital rules, sort of met the cost rules. Now, we'll get to that later. The cost is more expensive, but it made everything sort of, we could actually cook food to order for these clients, because we have a 900-bed hospital. We serve 3,000 meals a day, and everything is made to order. It used to be made ahead of time. So what we did is eliminate all the garbage that they had and slice it down to maybe 500 items on the menu, but then 25 actual menu items. It's very hard to change a zebra's stripes, but you gotta really change the culture first. So once those 12 people all got in the same train, things started to happen. And we said, let's try it. Let's see what happens. And the nutritionists, I made tastings, and they tasted the food. And the things they were skeptical of, they said, this is delicious. We'll figure it out. So you just have to keep going, right? And when someone says no, to me it means not now.
That's right.
I never take a no. So that's what we did. Honestly. And it was like day by day. And Molly, where's Molly? Right there, that lady right there is waving. She and I did the entire menu ourselves, and she did most of the work. 2 people changed the entire menu at Tampa General Hospital. We used the staff that they had. We didn't fire anyone. We just reanimated and re-educated and got them excited, because they weren't cooking. They were doing food at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, putting it into a steam table, right? And it would sit there all day. And then they would come with an ice cream scoop, literally, and go like this on a plate. And everyone got their food at the same time. And I guarantee you, 60 or 70% of the plates never got touched, because they were really, didn't look good. And if food doesn't look good, you're not gonna eat it.
Right.
And it didn't smell good, quite frankly. And so the cost is the second point. So the average cost, they give me, this is what they give me a day, $3.50 a person. $3.50. You get 3 injections a day, it's $12 a needle, okay? So it's $36 just for the needle, forget the medicine. So it's disgraceful. So what I did is they said, well, you gotta come $3.50 per plate. So I said, forget that, what do you spend a year on food? $15 million. I'll stay within the 15 million. And so I did. So I cooked great food, but I made the menu items much smaller, and they were buying everything. They were buying hard-boiled eggs. They were buying everything pre-done. And they were buying fruit cup, a fruit salad with ascorbic acid and MSG and high fructose corn syrup. Can you imagine in a hospital? They had a soda fountain like you have in an old diner, which when you go to a diner, I like that. But in a hospital, Dr. Pepper, Coke, Pepsi in a hospital. So we got rid of all that. And so we shrunk the menu items to allow for greater cost of food. So now we have regenerative beef, pork, grass-fed chicken, pasture-raised eggs. Like a pasture-raised egg means it runs around and eats the grass like this. It eats bugs. And that's when you see a yolk that's bright orange, right? Like your shirt. That's because it's so full of omega-3 fatty acids, and that's the best way to have a chicken. So that's what we do. Less is more.
So let me decipher this a little bit. First off, what's the total hospital budget? Not food, total budget. For all the needles and the surgery.
I don't know that number, but if the food budget's 15 million, the total budget must be 200 or 300 million just to like feed and staff everybody in medical and all that stuff.
Well, I'm saying that the entire budget of the hospital to take care of people, I bet it's several $billions.
Probably.
Right, so I'm only bringing that up because the food budget is maybe 1%.
Oh, it's not even.
Right, so the Hippocratic Oath is very clear that food is part of the puzzle that Hippocrates recommended to us. You should always, like Osler was one of the fathers of medicine, said, don't treat the disease, treat the patient. And if you're going to treat the patient, what you put into the patient matters. And so I'm thinking to myself, if it's under 1% of the total budget, you pointed out the needle example, the needle costs the same as the meal.
Of course.
So then we should be thinking about the food expense at the hospital as a rounding error. Even if it cost a lot more, it'd be worth it. But you're saying you did it within 5-10%?
Yeah, I did, because we cut down. They were offering, it was like going into like a cheesecake factory. There was 100 things on the menu. I'm like, why do we need these people here for 3 days? They don't need to have veal parmesan and chicken Kiev and steak frites and all this other stuff. They don't need that. They just want really good, yummy food, and they didn't eat it anyway. So they made it, but it was terrible.
And a lot of the food comes, as you should notice in hospitals, Jeff pointed this out, they don't make the food in the hospital.
No.
It's mechanized in factory, basically. Sourced, so
terrible.
They make the big trays, the vats, they thaw it, they make it, they freeze it, they thaw it, they ship it, they thaw it, they freeze it again. And meanwhile, when they usually take that ice cream scoop that you pointed to, and it meets the nutritional criteria, the doctors like me write in there, because we didn't think about it. Never crossed our minds, because guess what we don't have in medical school? A class on nutrition.
Well, now you do, right? Now you're required to do.
Now we do, but the reason that's an unfortunate reality, most of the doctors out right now never had a class in nutrition. If you don't learn about something in medical school, it can't possibly be important. Because everything that needs to be known about your health, we must have learned in medical school. That's the arrogance of how we think about deciphering medicine. So if we never hear about food and its nutrient value, getting better from illness, come on, it's it's a small thing. It's nothing. It's just what patients talk about. We glad hand it, but we don't actually focus on. In fact, I ran for student body president in medical school, and actually won on the platform that we would put a nutrition class in the school, because even the medical students, common sense, knew they needed this, but common sense is not so common in medicine, or frankly anywhere else. So Secretary Kennedy and I have been traveling the country. We came to Florida to launch the Food Pyramid Pledge. So you know the food pyramid, right? We put the pyramid back the right some way. So we have the meats, the pork chops now count as being healthy. We took the milk and said serve whole milk, not skim milk, which tastes like mud, and then with added chocolate syrup in it, because that's not good for you.
Eat chocolate. Chocolate's good. Just eat the chocolate.
Yeah, eat real chocolate, not flavored milk chocolate cup material inside of skim milk that's been watered down so you don't want to drink it. That's why kids, by the way, have infantilized taste buds, because when they go to school, they're not served whole milk anymore. That's changing. So you took this whole thing, you wrapped it up.
Yep.
What do you think about this idea that the secretary's put out there of having a pledge for every hospital in America to copy what you've been doing?
I think it's great. I'm just, it's like a pinch me dream that this happened. I did this 3 years ago I was just doing it for my father-in-law who got sick in the hospital, and I said, this is disgusting, to the CEO, John Kuras. And thank God for him, John Kuras said, write me a proposal, we'll do it. And he did it. And I couldn't believe it. And so because of him, it's sort of, we got together, then you guys came along, and it was like serendipity. It's like things just happened at the right time. I don't think this could have happened 10 years ago, but it's happening very fast now. To the degree, there's actually a hotline. I sent it to you. There's a hotline we can call. I don't know where you call, but I think it's a medical institute. You call and you can report the hospital for not serving healthy food. So it's going very fast. By the end of 2028, 2029, all the hospitals are going to now have a recommendation of nutrition that they have to serve to get their rating. And JACO, which is a community rating service for hospitals, they're going to now, I'm working with them, so there's 10,000 hospitals. You want to get a good rating? The food as well as the medicine is now part of that rating. You can't now ignore the kitchen. They used to just walk by the kitchen.
Yes.
And now, whatever you're serving is fine as long as you're using this $1 million machine on someone to cut them open and it works properly. We're going to give you an A. Now you have to do everything. So it's a very holistic approach, and I'm very proud of that. For instance, it's the most important thing is holistic. And I mean, I grew up. I'm Armenian, and I grew up. You're Middle Eastern.
Yep.
So I grew up with like food my mother cooked, and it was always the cheapest, most delicious food ever. It was the worst cut of the beef, the worst cut of the lamb. It was the crappiest vegetables that weren't expensive, but somehow it was delicious. And that's exactly what I'm doing for hospital. Because when you're laying in that gown, you're scared to death because you're alone. And I don't care how many visitors you have, you're alone, you're scared. I see the people's faces, they're like, I just want something that makes me feel good. And food does that.
So we're going to come out in a few minutes and do a little town hall out there so you can gather around and we'll take some questions from folks. So I want you to start collecting those ideas. I'm going to pivot now to very practical news you can use about the food you make for your family. Because ultimately, you win the battle for health, not in the hospital gurney, but you win it at home, in your kitchens, your living rooms, your bedrooms. So what are we eating there? How do you make this work? You've prepared meals for presidents, for celebrities, for athletes. What made you fall in love with food, and what makes you keep coming back?
It's the family. My family cooked food every meal I had since I was a kid, a baby. And we didn't go out to dinner, we didn't have any money. And my mother and father and uncles and aunts cooked breakfast, and then we talked about what's for lunch. At lunch, we talked about what's for dinner. It's like Italian, right? All you do is eat. The stove never was off.
So I never knew that actually happened, and my wife's family is Italian origin.
Who's Italian here?
Yeah. I mean, you're literally planning this meal while you're eating the current meal. How does that work? Is that, and Armenians do that too?
Everything. So I lived on leftovers, so I had the original meal on Monday. Seriously. And by Friday, I had no idea what the original meal was because it had morphed into fucking 5 meals, 5 or 6 fabulous sort of meals. And that's what we did, and it was for no money. So it's the same thing. That's why I fell in love with it, because it was so delicious.
So, I got to know you a lot, and obviously a huge fan of all your work. You're a brilliant creative mind. You could have made luxury homes, you could have run spas, but you decided to use your creative talents in food.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what makes chefs, some chefs need to be food people because that's the one thing they're really good at. Some surgeons need to do one operation because that's the only one they're going to
specialize. Yeah.
Yes, but you could have done, you're peripatetic. Yet you decided to focus on this. What is it about food that delivers to this audience in ways that so many other items could not have?
I don't think I'm alone. I think if you look at the entire Food Network world, all the people you see on Food Network love to take care of people. And that's what it is. I love taking care of people. I love sitting them down, cooking for them, hospitality, and feeding people, which is like the most intimate thing we do as human beings. We like cook stuff you put in your mouth and you eat it, and like we raise you basically. So I don't know what a better job is than that. Quite frankly, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. So to be able to do that, I'm so happy.
You took your game up a little bit. You didn't just make really great food. You made great food that's good for you. Not every food, but you've done that really well, especially of late. There is a general belief that healthy food's boring food. How many of you think that? Healthy food's maybe not quite as good. And there's some honest people.
It used to be. I agree with you. It used to be boring, right? Celery, carrots, vegetables, salads. Who wants to eat that? I don't want to eat that. I mean, I eat meat 4 times a day. 5 times a week I eat meat. I eat protein, I eat eggs, I eat like butter, I eat cheese, good cheese. I eat really good, healthy, full fat, avocados and a lot of fruit and all that stuff. But it used to be like, they used to tell you, don't eat that mac and cheese, don't have a burger, have a salad. The salad is interesting, but there's no nutrients in a salad, quite frankly. It fills you up, but in 1 hour you're hungry, right? And anybody who knows that. You eat a lunch, you eat a big bowl of salad, and you're like, okay, I feel like I'm doing the right thing, but in 1 hour you're like having a bag of potato chips, right? And so that's not satiation, right? So satiation means you eat food, and you go over your grandmother's house, those of you who've done this before, and you eat a pierogies, or you eat a bowl of spaghetti meatballs, or you eat a beautiful roast, and that your grandmother makes it. She knows how to make 2 dishes, and you've eaten it your whole life every Sunday. And at 4 o'clock you eat it, and at 5 o'clock you can't stand up because you're so full. But at 10 o'clock you're not snacking. You're full. You're fine. That's what's called satiation. You're full, and you're full because those nutrients have gotten to you, and you're happy. Yep. The right fat, the right protein, And all that is old-fashioned. This isn't science. This is like old-fashioned, nutritional, original food. So that's basically what I do. I've never done anything different than that. So I thank you for those kind words, but I've been doing the same stuff. So I've worked in French restaurants, and most of the food I cooked is on the menu at TGH. That's at Tampa General. It's pretty much similar for
How do you train your taste buds? For people like me who are currently pedestrian